I'm Quentin Walter. I'm a visual artist. I work spontaneously, stream of consciousness. I have a BA in Fine Arts from Western Washington University in Bellingham, Washington. I started out in clay, but the clay was too fickle. I couldn't control the color, so I moved into watercolor. So that was my medium for many years. Well, I start my collages with a seminal piece. The current series has to do with fashion models. So I will select a little fashionista, and then from there I tear different sheets of paper. Depending on the color, I like to use jewelry, and sometimes the collage will be almost finished and it might take quite some time to select the final little punch piece. I also like antiques, so there is a theme and a narrative to my work that's interpreted differently by the viewer. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I started out watercolor on paper. I transitioned into a deer series. I did some work on acrylic, used a projector to project the deer, and that was different for me. And now I'm interested in conceptual art being the art, a walking piece of art. So it's geared more towards performance art. As far as the watercolor paintings go, other people identify Gauguin, Chagall. I admire their work. I also am attracted to Duchamp for his intellectual take on what art is. The work that I most enjoy doing is quite flexible. As I said, I'm doing collages now, more performance, getting ready for Art Basel. I'm always an artist. Whatever job if it's a waitressing, catering, working at the Arts Council, all of my jobs have reverted back to being art. I was born an artist. I remember when I was a little girl, I made paper purses, decorated them, and tried to sell them door to door, and that was when I was in grade school. Art is life. Everything I do is part of art. It's looking at scene, nature, color, form. It is different because people who aren't into art, they think I'm a little off. Then they find out I'm an artist, and somehow then it's okay. I don't want to be negative, but I was in a competitive show with lots of artists at the museum, and the person didn't know that my art was hanging, and they looked at the art and they said, "This is art," or "Look what they let in the show." And I looked at him. I'd never told him I was the artist, and it was just like a joke. I can't focus when there's music on or people, television, so I need to be alone, especially when I created the more narrative, personal watercolor paintings. The collages, I found out recently I could work on my collages with my husband there. I did collages in the hospital room on the windowsill, so I could transition, but especially when I do the watercolors, I need to be alone. I like bits and pieces of a lot of my watercolor paintings. Out of the thousands of paintings I've done, I might edit it down to maybe 100 great pieces. I like the composition, the color, the flow, the layering of content. People are drawn to the color. Sometimes, "Oh, I like your color." Then they get close and they like, "What's going on here?" So I have an edge to my art that only appeals if there's 1% of the whole population likes art, then a teeny niche. I'm very niche. No, my collages I've done since I was in high school. I used to do billboards in the hallways. And again, it's intuitive. it's easy for me to make the collages generally. Although that can vary. If I'm looking for a specific color or piece of jewelry, I have to look. But it just comes pretty naturally. What do I like about my collages? I like how they're organized. It's a relief from my signature style of watercolor painting. It's meditative. I cut the tiny pieces. I don't even like puzzles, but the collages, I don't have to draw. It's already drawn. It's there. So I'm just putting the pieces together, and I'm usually happy with the outcome. There's not too much research in the creation of my collages. I have the book. I know where my little fashionistas are. I like to use Sotheby's books. So the research is just really looking at the visual reference material and then cutting and stacking according to the color or the mood that I want in that particular collage. My goal is to have a retrospective of my watercolor paintings at an accredited museum. My goal is to sell my work to Madonna, who's a passionate art collector, and to be able to support myself in a comfortable lifestyle with the sale of my art. Do not give up.